are the qualities and characteristics of the emotionally immature parent? Now, let's just start by saying, if you're a parent, you've definitely been emotionally mature. And if you've had a parent, they've definitely been emotionally immature, because we all are emotionally immature. Sometimes we all get triggered. We all are reactive. We all go through things. When I'm talking about an emotionally immature parent, I am talking about parents who often with the best intentions, but because of their own wounds and shadows that they haven't been with, are not capable not only of modeling what healthy self-regulation and resilience looks like to the child, but they also do damage that perpetuates through the generations. And as I talk about this, I think you'll see what I mean. Okay, so I'm going to talk about 3 key qualities or characteristics of the emotionally immature parent. First, they don't self-regulate or self-soothe well. So that means they are emotionally all over the place. They are emotionally insecure. They can't soothe themselves, right? So first of all, they're not modeling for you how to self-soothe. They're also not able to soothe you because they're really not able to soothe themselves, and nobody ever soothed them, which is why it's perpetuating, right? So what happens with these kinds of parents, and what you'll see, is they're looking for validation and safety outside themselves. Who do they turn to? Often the child. The child becomes the emotional placeholder, placater, pleaser, caretaker of the parent. That is what we would call an emotionally parentified child. That was me growing up. And there are gifts in that. That's why I'm such a great therapist today, because I started when I was 3 months old, or probably while still growing inside my mother. But I was her Banky, right? And that's how a lot of children of parents who can't self-soothe and self-regulate and need that comfort outside themselves, because they never learned how themselves. The other thing you'll see parents like this do is they will often have a rotating door of partners, and they go really hot and heavy, and they're all in, and they'll look like love addicts, and they're constantly, because they're looking for that security and comfort and I'm enoughness outside themselves. And then they attract all these toxic people. And of course, that has its own brand of problems when your parent brought in lots of different people. There are also, especially people who aren't emotionally mature themselves. There's, that's rife with all sorts of possibilities of abuse and trauma. That would be a whole other video, but put a pin in that for now. And they're often emotionally abusive because they're flying into rages, or they're shutting down with depression. So they're either shutting out the child because they're not able to regulate their depression and they just want to curl up in a ball and they're unable to do anything else, or they fly into rages and get emotionally or physically abusive. And we'll also see with people who can't self-regulate and manage their emotions and don't know how to self-soothe, these are typically the ones that turn to substances and fall prey to addiction. So that's all that piece of the inability to self-regulate or self-soothe. Another quality you'll see in emotionally immature parents is unwillingness and often inability to take responsibility for their actions, to apologize, to acknowledge mistakes that any good parent does. I've done that millions of times with my kids. When I've lost it for some reason, or when I see in hindsight that I made a mistake, or when they've come to me and said, you made a mistake with this, or you're wrong about this, or you shouldn't have done that to me when I was 6 years old, or whatever. And I will let it land as much as I'm capable of doing. I know I'm not perfect, but I will apologize. I will often initiate the apology if I'm aware that I overstepped or did something hurtful. It's never intentional, but you have to not only model for your kids acknowledging your mistakes and making restitution, but also if you were a child raised by a parent, typically a narcissist, but others as well, who were unwilling to ever acknowledge they were wrong, ever apologize, what does the child do? More often than not, they either become an over placater. They don't know how to keep their own boundaries, because for the child, if mom or dad are saying, no, I didn't do anything wrong. No, you're wrong. No, what you're seeing isn't true. No, what I did to hurt you didn't happen. The child still needs to survive in that family and needs to survive in the world and is dependent on them for survival. So what do? They're like, oh, okay, they must be right, right? And that's when we see placaters and when we see people who are quick to give their truth away, like they know the truth until someone challenges them. That discernment piece isn't really there in kids and adults who were raised in families where with emotionally immature parents, especially, who couldn't take responsibility and acknowledge the truth of what was happening. The child starts to get confused about what their own truth and what that truth is. And the final characteristic I want to talk about here with emotionally immature parents is that they play emotional warfare. And sometimes this is with intention, manipulative purposes, like to get control of the child or to convince the child to do something, or, to get a hit of love, to prove to themselves they're needed. Sometimes it's conscious and intentional, but very often it's not conscious. But these are the parents who, when they're feeling really bad or someone insulted them or they feel insulted by someone even outside the home, they project it and just puke it out onto the child. So mom had a bad day at work, comes home, sees her daughter and says, "You look hideous in that skirt." It's just like an emotional immaturity and unawareness of what's really hurting and what's going on, and lashing out at the child. So often misplaced anger, resentment projected onto the child. They'll also stonewall, which is a really toxic behavior when parents basically, the child experiences it as withdrawing or withholding love. The parent refuses to speak to them, pretends like they're not there, tells them, I'm going to leave you somewhere, when, they're using fear tactics in their mind to try to control what they see as an uncontrollable child. But it's an extremely emotional, immature strategy that really destroys the child's self-worth and willingness and ability to trust love and to trust their ability to call in love and even be worthy of sustainable love. People don't stay, right? Those are the people that grow up to sabotage relationships and get into toxic relationships. So those three qualities are the ones I want to cover here. If you want to learn more, because there's a lot more about emotionally immature parents, the symptoms, the side effects, anything else about raising healthy children to really claim the worth that we all desire as you dissect your childhood and also maybe are thinking about having or do have children yourselves, this is really important. So definitely subscribe if you like this channel, and let me know in the comments what else you want me to talk to you about, because you know what, I'm here. It's all about healing, learning, and teaching. We're all here together, and my intention is always to help you love and be loved better.